Hello and welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Matt Gets It podcast. This is a sports debate show where we discuss the biggest topics in sports. I'm your host, Matt Martinez, and with me is my co-host, Billy Ryan. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How you been?
I'm good, man. Another interesting week of sports that, occurred, and we got a great slate of topics to discuss. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We kind of went over it in our meeting beforehand. So let's dive right into it.
Let's hit it.
Yeah, so folks, our topics include our reactions to UFC 319. We also got insight into which MLB team is the National League's best. We also got an update on the WNBA MVP race, plus the latest winners in golf. Billy, first things first, we're going to start with UFC 319, which came from Chicago, Illinois, and specifically the main event, which was a middleweight bout between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. And Billy, we have and new Khamzat Chimaev defeated Dricus du Plessis via unanimous decision. All three judges had the fight 50-44. So not only was a what a not only was it a one-sided affair, it was a brutally one-sided affair, right, Billy? I'd just like to hear your thoughts on the fight and Hamzat's performance altogether.
Overall, I think Hamzat put on an absolute clinic. He went in there with the game plan and executed. Obviously, his strengths it was a little bit more on the grappling and wrestling side of things, but he just showed that he is truly next level in that case. And I think he has a similar fight style to Khabib, where he's just going to dominate you the whole time. He's going to
Hmm.
put you, make you get up, make you get off of your back. You can't defend his takedowns, you're in a whole lot of trouble. So I think it was an absolute masterclass from Hamzat. I think Dragos Duplessis did show a lot of heart. I think he fought, all the way into the round, and he was doing what he could with getting absolutely smothered. Looking at the striking when it comes to the fight and some of those statistics, he had Hazmat had such a high percentage landing rate, but a lot of those weren't truly damaging. They were kind of short punches, quick ones, make him get out of position, and really fight in uncomfortable positions the entirety of the fight. So absolutely, masterclass from Chimaev. I think he really deserved that. I think when he is healthy, he is truly probably the best middleweight in the division.
Yeah, it was a impressive performance to say the least, because when I saw the fight statistics, I kind of thought it was a typo at first. I was like, did this guy really throw this many punches, and land at this not and land that many? So he landed 529 total strikes, Billy. Like it's crazy, but like when you go back and look at the fight, Hamzat had DDP in the crucifix position, like had him down numerous times, taking him down, just controlling him, and yeah, he was landing those little short like nudges, basically, right? Nudge punches. It kind of looked like, but he was just controlling him. There was nothing that DDP could do. He could not stop the takedown, and he could not get up. Hamzat had 21 minutes of control time, Billy. So the fight went all 5 rounds, 25-minute fight. He had over 21 minutes of control time, and he was 12 of 17 on takedowns. So like that just goes to show how overwhelmed DDP was by Hamza. Like there was nothing that he could do, and the ref even stood him up one time. It just went right back to the ground.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I think the motor in Hamzat is unreal. Being able to just apply pressure for 30 minutes of a fight is absolutely crazy. Or 25 minutes of the fight. My apologies,
He
but
probably could go 30. Like honestly, like if there was an extra round, like he could probably like no problem. Which because if you look at his history, Billy, like with his making weight and stuff, he kind of struggles. You know what I mean? He's even like fluctuated between two divisions, right? He's already gone up, right? He fought at welterweight, like started at welterweight, and now he's at middleweight.
correct. Yeah, I want to even say there was a point in time where he could he looks like he could fight at light heavyweight. Like he looked like he could be a comfortable, almost 200 pounds.
Which is crazy because when he matches up against DDP looks like he could be a light heavyweight, right? Like
Exactly.
he's a stocky middleweight, and Khamzat was able to control him with ease. Which shout out to Khamzat because I had DDP going into this fight, Billy. So hand up when you're proven wrong, right? So who did you have going into the fight, Billy?
I had Hamzat. I knew Hamzat was something special. Like when I've watched his first few fights in the
Mm-hmm.
UFC, knocking a guy out in 8 seconds, picking I forget the Chinese fighter's name, and I don't want to butcher it anyway. But when he's picking him up across the ring and dragging him, talking to Dana White, and just that's a different human being right there. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you hit it right on the head though. He did struggle to cut weight, and there was multiple times where he's missed weight. So
Yeah.
he's not a person like when he goes in a fight, you're like, there could be a bet, there could be a backup, there could be a possible replacement, and I think that was something that was on everybody's mind. But when I saw him come out, he looked like a new being. Like he was fighting and he looked healthy. He was able to have that motor and go 5 rounds, which is nuts.
Yeah, because most of his fights don't last more than what, 2, 3 rounds. Like he had a lot of first round finishes. And going back to your point, when he knocked the guy out in 8 seconds, I think he had like 2 fights in the span of like 10 days, right? Back
Yeah,
when it was like
yeah,
Fight Island.
yeah. He literally stayed there just an extra 2 weeks and worked out a little bit more, and then immediately hopped on the next card because he didn't. He threw one or two punches in the fight. Like he threw one punch.
What is his quote? Like his the motto, like smash everybody, right, or something like
Smash,
that.
yeah, smash, kill everybody. I'm the champion. Kill everybody.
Brothers, smash. Yeah.
Smash.
But yeah, shout out to Hamza, man. Masterful performance, just being able to dominate DDP like that. And DDP, he was looking for a fourth title defense. He already defended the belt 3 times, Billy. So he was an established champion. And it was getting to the point where like if this again, he ultimately lost this fight, but if he were to beat Hamza, it was getting to the point like, well, who's his next opponent, right?
That's where I'm kind of looking. I think maybe Duplessis might deserve another one. I think he's going to kind of have a realization and know
Hmm.
how to kind of train for his next couple fights. And who knows, maybe Hamzat changes his game plan and starts, boxing a little bit more, throwing, some kicks, things like that here and there. But I'm going to say something that might be some controversial.
Let's hear it.
I think the middleweight could be one of the weaker divisions in the UFC.
I think that's a fair assessment because if you look at, like just like the top 10 itself, it's like kind of a carousel, right? Like a lot of these guys are beating each other or they're former champions who are on losing streaks. So it's like really like where do they go? Or on the flip side of that, there's a lot of up and coming prospects who have yet to really prove themselves and fight those established veterans, right? So like really like who's deserving next, right? So do they ultimately go with the rematch? I know DDP's coach was kind of not adamant about it, but he was calling for it more or less. Like we deserve the rematch and we know what we're gonna do. On the other hand, DDP himself, he was like, yeah, like, we'll have him have his moment. He beat me in the fight fair and square, tip of the cap. If I get the rematch, it happens. If I have to get another fight, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, middleweight, it really is more or less one of the weaker divisions as opposed to lightweight, welterweight. I mean, before Ilya left the featherweight was popping, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah. No,
I have
that's
to keep tabs.
where I'm just like I said, I'm looking through the top 10, top 15 right now, and none of these names are, like, wow, these guys are the next up and coming guy. Or I know Eddie
Uh,
Ritter might be that person on my list. Israel Adesanya, I feel like, is probably on a 2 or 3 fight losing streak. Sean Strickland, I think he's had a couple good fights with
hmm.
DDP. He's made it close, but I think with Hamzat's style, I think he takes down Sean Strickland and probably submits him.
And if you look at those two guys specifically, if I'm not mistaken, like Izzy's like what, 2-2 in his last four or something like that.
Sounds right.
And then if you even stretch it back, he's like maybe 2-4 in his last six, right? Or because he had like a stretch there where he lost to what, Pereira twice, and then he lost to Strickland, and then he lost. Did
To
he lose to
DDP.
DDP?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
lost to
so
DDP.
that's already four right there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And then Strickland lost to Pereira, and then he lost to DDP, and then who was his last fight? Costa? Did Costa fight anyone? Who did Costa fight?
Uh,
But again, that just speaks to the carousel, right? Like who, like really, who is there? Billy, so do you have the rankings? Are you looking at the rankings right now?
Currently, yep.
What is I don't man, I don't know if I pronounced his name right. Imov? It's like I am
Yeah,
some. He's
so
like a 6 fight win streak like he's on a win streak or something, right?
yeah, he's actually the number one contender, or I guess maybe potentially number two now.
Oh,
So I haven't gotten the current UFC update yet,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, you're
Which
right.
they're slacking because it usually comes on Mondays.
I know I'm out here refreshing. I'm like, come on, guys, let me get
Yeah, the
some
pound for pound, right? Is Hamzat gonna be? How high is he gonna be on the pound for pound list?
exactly. I think this shoots up. I think everybody kind of watching the tweets that come in at the bottom of the screen that come in like,
Yeah,
"There's a problem." You're like, hey, it's being known to the land now.
yeah, for sure. But man, so Hamzat improves to 15-0. He still remains unbeaten, Billy. So man, this guy's on a tear right now.
Like I said, it's carousel who could be next. I wouldn't be disappointed in another DDP fight. I think you're right. Imavov deserves probably a shot now. So I think somebody else on that kind of up and coming list is Rainer Ritter. He's been on a good little fight streak
Oh
as
yeah.
well, and
Mm-hmm.
21-2. So I'd like to see it.
I really just hope he doesn't vacate and try to go for another belt because there's kind of like been that recent trend, you know what I mean?
It is. It's
And he kind of always like he's always saying like he's gonna win multiple belts himself, right? And jump around divisions. So I think Brett Okamoto kind of flirted with that idea too, the writer for ESPN.
right.
So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he at least defends it before he vacates it.
It's true. There seems to be like a little champion UFC epidemic when it comes to they get bored defending their own belt and they want to challenge themselves. So I do think he'll probably defend it once or twice before he even has kind of whatever that mindset is. And I think it also depends on the division. If there's nobody that's really kind of challenging him or he feels like he's not going to be challenged, then he's probably going to jump ship.
Or what the boss man, the kingpin Dana White wants, huh?
Exactly. It's what the boss want.
Yeah. But once again, congrats to Hamza and new middleweight champion. Next up, Billy, we got some baseball to talk about. Excuse me. As the regular season continues to dwindle, the hunt for October continues to intensify. Several teams are scorching hot, and others have cooled off. 6 teams currently, Billy, have won 70 plus ball games, and 4 of them belong in the National League. That said, we are gonna specifically focus on 3 teams in the National League. Okay, Billy? Those 3 teams are the Milwaukee Brewers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Philadelphia Phillies. So, just quick run through of the records, Billy. Milwaukee is 78 and 45. They have the best record altogether in all of MLB, Major League Baseball, I should say. They lead the NL Central by 8 games at the moment. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies are both 71 and 53. The Dodgers lead the NL West by 2 games. The Phillies lead the NL East by 5 games. Billy, of those 3 teams, who is the best team in the National League?
This is such a hard question, but uh, like like my mindset behind it is like, hey, if you
Hmm.
looked at just the records, you're like, obviously the Brewers are the best team in baseball right now. Like out of
Right.
all AL, NL, they are the best team in baseball right now. And yeah, I like you look and it's like they're 9 of their last 10 they're winning, and I think they were on like a 14 game win streak or 13 game win streak, which is
Correct. They just had, which was the franchise record. Sorry.
no, and it's pretty crazy to be able to kind of rally this good. Like this is the right time to get hot in the season, 100%. If your guys are starting to feel good and play well at the end of the season, in which they have been, they were down 8-1 the other night and came back to win it. I think like 12-8 or something crazy. Like this team is absolutely mashing the baseball, and they got some good starting pitching behind it. But it's like, hey, if you're scoring 5 to 8 runs a game, your pitching can afford to make a couple mistakes here and there, and they can trust that their guys are going to go throw 100 pitches and maybe last 5 6. And I think that's like a good assumption. But when you look at the rosters of these MLB teams, The Braves have a lot of, or not the Brewers have a lot of, obviously like younger guys. There's a couple bigger names on the Brewers. Um, but when you look at the Dodgers, dude, every single person on the lineup could be an all star and or were an MVP or have won multiple World Series. So it's hard for me to not say the Dodgers because they could go into the postseason and absolutely be perfect. And they have that potential. They have Yamamoto, they have Otani, they have Mookie Betts, they have Freddie Freeman. They have literally like number one rankings of like each position on the field. If you were to pull everyone's stats, the Dodgers are probably the number 3 or 4 name on every single list.
No,
So
for sure. Those are all great points.
like am I wrong to say as much as I hate the Dodgers, they're the best team in the MLB?
I don't think it's wrong of you at all to make that case for them. You know what I mean, or to think that way. And there's a lot of statistics, excuse me, to back that up, Billy. So the Dodgers, they lead Major League Baseball in runs batted in. They have scored 617 runs this year. You know what I mean? So like, if you can't limit them from scoring, you're not going to win, right? In most ball games, right? In most cases. They also have the second most home runs right now at the moment. They have 185 total, with Shohei obviously leading the way with 43 home runs himself, which is tied for the third most in all of baseball. But again, that like it goes back to the roster, right? Like they have so many players on that roster that are tremendous ball players. And if we're being honest, Billy, if it wasn't for injuries, right? God, they could probably be north of 80 wins right now, like if fully healthy, like right?
Yeah, no. If you throw Shohei Otani from game one and he's your opening day starter, followed up with Yamamoto, then
Roki,
Roki, and then they got
Tyler,
Snell,
Glass now, Blake
Snell.
Snell,
Like all of these guys are number one pitcher on an MLB team, but because they're on the Dodgers, they're a game five starter.
and the future Hall of Famer, the legend, Clayton Kershaw, who's what, Billy? He's like 6-2 himself, 6-3, something like that himself.
Yeah,
But like an ERA that's like under 4, like
and
respectable, like lights out ERA, like right?
oh, especially like in the playoffs. I think you look at Kershaw in the playoffs, and he's got some of the best pitching stats behind Mad Bum that you might ever see, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so I hate to say it, but it's true. The Dodgers lineup is so extensive. It's like every single one of their pitchers is facing a game one starter if they wanted to. So like I said, you look into the playoffs and you're like, man, you look at the 4 or 5 guys plus Kershaw who was open about even he's like, hey, even if you need me in the bullpen, I'm willing to do what it is. And you're
hmm
like, well, what can you do? What can you do at that point?
He's willing to close. You know what I mean? Like he closed the World Baseball Classic out a couple years ago. Like Yamamoto, I think went like 7 or 8, and then he closed it.
That's nuts, dude. It doesn't make sense. Like,
It doesn't make sense, Billy. And those are and like God, man, like on paper they are. However, Billy, we got to live in reality. And reality is some of those guys have missed games, and the reality is the best team in the National League right now is the Milwaukee Brewers. Because not only do they have the best differential in the MLB, uh, plus 161, Billy, keep that in mind. So
yeah,
they've outscored their opponents by 161 games thus far, or 61 runs, I should say, thus far. Uh, they have the they have a massive cushion in their division, right, over the Cubbies right now. 8 games. You look at everyone else, a little bit closer of a race. Uh, and then altogether, they're second in average as a team hitting wise. They're hitting 259, only behind Toronto, which is hitting 269. Uh, Milwaukee's also fourth in hits and fourth in stolen bases. So not only are they hitting the ball, they're also freaking making or causing havoc on the base passes, excuse me, right? So that is a recipe for success on their part, and it's a recipe for disaster on the opponent's part, right? Because
absolutely.
not only are if you can't get them out and you can't stop them from advancing, it's like you're screwed, more or less.
Believe me when I say it, like as a catcher, if you can't control the tempo of the base paths in a game, whether it's pitching or blocking, just runners advancing in general, like I've been on enough of the one-sided beatdowns where it is the most exhausting thing, just being there and watching guys cross your face, touch home plate, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it is just one of the most frustrating things. So like you're saying, it's a recipe for success, and it's a win-win basically for the Dodgers at all costs. Like you're causing havoc on the other team, and you're out here putting runners in scoring position, which is ultimately going to lead to more runs.
And then on the flip side of that, their pitching staff and their bullpen has been lights out this year. Uh, they have obviously the most wins in all of baseball, 78, but they're third in ERA altogether, 3.59. So it's under four, which is giving you a chance, right, to be in every ball game, right? And
Absolutely.
then also they have 36 saves, which is led by Trevor Meagle Medjol, if I'm mispronouncing his name. Meigel, it might even be Meigel, Trevor Meigel. He has 29 saves himself. And then if you look at their starting pitching, Billy, they have three starting pitchers with 10 plus wins right now, led by Freddie Peralta, who has the most in all of baseball. He's 15 and 5.
It's nuts, dude. It's unfair almost.
And I have yet, or I should say, we have yet to mention Christian Yelich, who's who's the man, who's the leader of the franchise player. He's hitting 265 himself. He has 25 home runs and 86 RBIs.
I know Yelich isn't the Yelich of old when, probably like 3, 4 years ago when he was the one of the premier outfielders in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love to see him turn it around, but it's his teammates around him as well. It's them picking him up. It's them feeding back into that confidence of that Yelich of old that is.
For sure.
It seems like it's contagious amongst the whole team. Every guy's got each other. You see the amount of motion that they play with. It is exciting to watch.
Yeah, man, I mean, going back to your point that you made earlier, I mean, they were down 8 runs and they came back and won. Like they're not out of it by any means and at any point at any in any game. Like that's how dangerous they are.
Right. And believe me, I've been to many Rockies games when you see them go down 5-6-0. The amount of people that leave the stadium, it's like, okay, nobody believes in this team. But, they're jam packed like every single night, and I think they're on a run.
They're trying to see what's the mascot go down the slide.
Uh what's his
Can't remember his
what's his
exact name.
name, dude? He's got that mustache.
Yeah,
I gotta look it up. It's gonna drive me nuts.
a little like 4-story slide.
That would be one of the sweetest mascots to be here. Like every home run I get to celebrate by sliding down this huge Bernie.
Oh, there we go, Bernie. There we go. Shout out Bernie of the Milwaukee Brewers. Uh, ultimately though, Billy, we'll see what happens come playoff time, right? Who will be the last team standing in the National League,
Hey, it's all about October, baby.
right? But any of those three teams would have a great chance to win the pennant, if we're being honest.
I agree. I think that each division leader in the NL right now, I do think like has a shot to win it all. But it will ultimately like it shows. It's about how you show up in October. It's about how you play. After you've played 162 games, how you've been beat up all season. That's
Hmm.
what counts.
True that. True that. Moving on, folks. We got the MVP race to talk about in the WNBA. It is getting interesting to say the least. We got more or less. You could make a case that it's between three players. I would say, Billy, it's more or less between two players. And those two players are Napheesa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx and Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. If you want to throw an outside wild card pick in there, you could say Alyssa Thomas of the uh, from Phoenix, but we're just going to focus on Collier and Wilson for this topic, okay, Billy? And going off what we talked about from last week in Asia Wilson's, historic performance where she put up 30 points and 20 rebounds, the first ever WNBA game with such stat line, she kind of propelled herself back into uh the discussion. Like it kind of seemed like Collier was running away with it just because her team was also just running away with it record wise from the rest of the teams. Um, but it's getting interesting, Billy. Wouldn't you say so?
No, 100%. 100%. I've been looking at this and I've been trying to make my mind based on stats, and
Yeah.
it's honestly a little too close stat comparison wise, at least on the offensive side, to for me to make a good judgment call. Like looking at here, Napheesa Collier is getting 23 points a game, while Asia Wilson's right around that 22.3 mark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rebounds, it's Asia Wilson. Assists per game, it's Napheesa Collier. Steals per game, it's almost dead even. Blocks per game, like I said, it's a 1.6 to a 2.1. So Asia Wilson's getting like a little bit more hands on the ball. I can't really make a comparison that's straight off of based off of offensive statistics to feel good about being like she won or she
Mm-hmm.
won. I can't really kind of fill in there, but so I tried to look a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, and they're almost very similar statistic wise there, where you're like, man, they're both playing great defense and they're both winning a lot of games. So out of pure bias, I think I have to go with a little bit Asia Wilson. I think I just like the play style a little bit more. I like the swagger
Mm-hmm.
in the game, and being able to drop 30 points. You're like, hey, that's like something I want to watch on a week to week basis, if possible.
So if that's like, not like the only thing you're looking for, right, Billy? But like that's one of the things, like, as a basketball fan, like of course it's always exciting to see somebody put up those high performing performances, right? So Asia Wilson over her last 6 games, Billy, she's averaging just under 30 points per game. So she's averaging 28.1 points per game. And uh she's dropped 30 points 3 times in those 6 games.
I mean, that's it's not hard to watch. Like it's like you kind of brings your mind comparison of the just like the normal NBA of the MVP of this year, where you're like, hey, John Morant, like or that style of play, you know what I mean? With Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you're like, hey, he's getting the line. He's an acrobatic player.
Hmm.
You love to watch it play. But then you're like, oh, and then you watch Nikola Jokic, and it's boring. But the amount of stats that go into it, you're like, wow, you got to respect it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, man, ex so again, like stat wise, they're fairly similar, right?
Very comparable.
Um, yeah, like point two differential in points per game, rebound per game, point like one or two, and the same steals, blocks, man. Like even assists, everything's just right there within each other, like number wise. I guess really, Billy, I guess, or I should say the biggest separator could, when you look at it, is their team record. So the Lynx are currently 28-5, the best record overall. They're 17-1 at home, 11-4 away. And the Aces are 21-14 overall, 12-5 at home, 9-9 away. However, Minnesota has been without Napheesa the last 6 games or so after she sustained, an ankle injury. So does that play into it at all, Billy? Because even though Napheesa's missed some time, the Lynx are still dominating. They're still winning games. Does that maybe help Asia's case? Whereas if Asia's when Asia missed those 4 games, the Aces were like, even with Asia being there, still the Aces at times they didn't look that great. But because she's been so dominant, she has them as the number 4 team right now in all of the WNBA.
That's a great point. And I do think you have to kind of take somewhat of that in consideration because if she played the last 6 or so games and she was putting up good stats, you'd be like, hey, she's a key contributor to why they're winning games.
Hmm.
But ultimately, they're a single digit loss team. I think you have to throw that on that team as well, where it's like, hey,
Yeah,
coercively as a team, they're good. They're gonna make it happen. They're gonna get the dub.
even
So
better with her though, right?
right, right. But it's like then when you throw her on the floor, you're like, hey, I wonder what that percentage is over those last 6 games of like, were they scoring more points or where like what
Hmm.
did that look like from an offensive defensive side and like see kind of what that impact would look like. But that's, I know, I think you, that's like a great point that, it's hard to say that's a downfall for Collier and an advantage of Wilson. But I mean, at that point in time, you're like, hey, if you look at Asia Wilson, she's out here, she's balling, she's hooping. Like you were saying, 28, averaging
Mhm.
28 plus points over the last 10 games is crazy.
Yeah. Thank God I don't have a vote. You know what I mean? So I don't have to worry about it. But if I did have a vote, I think I would have to give it to Asia, man, because at times the Aces look terrible this season, and she was the only one keeping them afloat. And now that they're really starting to click, she's her play is always been steady, but it's like reaching new levels at this point, right? Those last 6 games averaging nearly 30. Like, and she's propelling them up the standings. Like it's her level of play that's propelling them. So I would have to give my vote, I think is gonna have to go to Asia. And which is crazy because Napheesa is the best player on the best team who has the best record. Like, you know what I mean? And she's having a tremendous year. She probably could have even won the MVP last year. So it's like, man, like, is there maybe a case of voter fatigue? Like, I know that's a topic that's been, you know, prevalent in the NBA.
Right.
Is this maybe going to happen in the WNBA? Because Asia, if I'm not mistaken, is already a three-time WNBA MVP. If if she wins it this year, this will be her fourth. Nafisa has yet to win one. She's a defensive player of the year, but I don't know, Billy. Like, could that possibly factor? Maybe we specifically talk about that for a future topic.
I like we could go on about this one, like especially around the whole voter fatigue thing, and just like, wanting to see, new players in the limelight. Like obviously, I feel like sometimes we almost take for granted of the consistently good players that are consistently
Hmm.
finishing at the top of the list, because you're like, well, yeah, he's up there. He's in talks for best player of the year, but it's like unless they truly have that breakout year where they're breaking a record or something like that, it seems like it's just kind of overlooked.
Yeah, but man, both players are playing great basketball. Both tremendous playmakers on both sides of the court. So again, I'm glad I don't have a vote.
You and me both.
All right, folks, our last topic of the evening is going to be over on the golf course and specifically talking about the winners in the two golf leagues, essentially, right, Billy? We got the PGA Tour and then we got the Live Golf Tour. Um, I guess we'll start off with the PGA Tour and the utter dominance that continues to be displayed by Scottie Scheffler, who won the BMW Championship for his fifth win of this year alone. Uh, Billy, it's insane what this guy is pulling off, right? Like what he's able to do. He joins Tiger Woods, folks, as the only player, or I should say, the only golfer in the last 40 years to have back-to-back seasons with 5 wins. Like, so he's dominating consistently over the past 2 years. Uh, Billy, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on Scotty and his uh, overall dominance.
First off, absolute dog. When it comes to Scotty Scheffler, like he might be on a run that we've only seen from one other golfer, but it's hard to compare him to that other golfer in terms of stats if you look at it. Like, yeah, I know we're looking at like season wins and stuff like that. Um, but like Tiger Woods was one of the best golfers in the world for almost like 9 years. Like, if not
Hmm.
he was the best number one rated golfer in the world, like for almost 9 years or something like that. But the way Scotty's been playing, it's something that we didn't get to, fully grasp, or like we never got to fully grasp the whole Tiger Woods until we got older and watched clips and stuff like that. We never got to
Right.
watch, live tournaments of Tiger playing. So for me, like I hold that little dear. Like I went to the BMW Championship here in Colorado. I was stayed at 10 feet away, videoed Scotty like a little girl as he walked by me on the tee box, and I was like, "Oh my god, like this is crazy!" And just to watch his level of play, it's like it's something that we might not see again for a long time, or if who knows, maybe this is kind of his generational run if he can kind of figure out what he's got going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. And I think that's where Tiger maybe messed up a little bit on his run, where he let the behind the scenes issues, other than in golf, really take over his life. But it's like, hey, maybe Scottie already went through that midlife crisis after he got arrested, came out, win a couple more tournaments, things like that. And I know we joke about it, but it's crazy to see, what Scottie's been able to do on the golf course.
That's it's just insane. Like like we joke about it, but like oh he's a criminal. You know what I mean? But like if anyone who knows or who knows, like it was such a bogus incident. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
this dude was just. Well, I mean, obviously, not ultimately like what happened. The serious situation, but I'm talking about the it's bogus what happened to Scotty when he was ultimately trying to just get to his job. I should
right.
say clarify. But God, man, yeah, the stuff that Scotty is doing over on the golf course is just unreal. Like that shot on 17, that chip in
To put him
for
up on
birdie.
10 going in is
Yeah,
that's a
from the
subject
rough,
I would
like
make.
that
Like
lie. And what did that ball roll out? Like honestly, like 35 feet,
probably more than that, probably close to like 60 feet. It was
dude.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
you felt like you were watching the ball roll forever with the hole not in sight. Like they zoomed in on the ball and you're just
Hmm.
on this section of green and ball, and you're like, man, to be honest, I have no idea where the pin is, and then it just literally on its last roll. Mm,
Dude, I literally thought the same thing. Like on a certain camera angle, I was like, God, how long is this green? Like that's how long the ball trickled out.
right,
And it's just even more of a testament to how good Scotty is because at one point over the last couple of years, generously saying or putting it, he kind of had like the putting yips, right?
100%. Now he's probably the best putter on
Dialed.
tour percentage wise.
He's
Like
dialed in, right? Whether that's, had to do with his grip, if he from conventional to claw grip, or, you know, the blade to mallet, right? I think that's what he uses now. He uses like a mallet putter and like a claw grip, right?
mm, I can't say for sure, but I know he's
If you want to
got one.
get really into it and technical, but yeah, man, Scotty's just he's without a doubt the best player on the PGA Tour. Like I know Rory completed the Grand Slam and blah blah blah, but the last 2 years, like every week or every tournament, I should say, it's a safe bet for Scotty to be in contention.
Or even if he's down on the second or third day, you're like, hey, like I'm gonna choose the odds when Scotty's at the lowest, so I can get my most return and feel confident in a bet like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just comfortably firing off like 9 under around, you know what I mean? 10 under, 11 under. It's like,
Because he went into the championship round, I want to say 4 or 5 strokes down,
yeah, just went
and just
nuclear.
and just absolutely turned it around, which is like you never see a guy play his best golf on championship Sunday. You know what I mean? It's always like, oh man, they shot a 63 or a 62 on one of the, first or second rounds, and then they have like, a pretty consistent, they're
Yeah, they're just
67.
trying to maintain the lead, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
But to come back and be like, hey, I'm fighting and I'm going to win this today is just an absolute different mindset that it's like somewhere I wish I could tap into somewhere on a golf course one time in my life.
Facts, right? Just once.
Like money on the
Great
line.
point there, Billy. Yeah.
Let me put this ball within to a foot. You know what I mean? It's always the cheap
Hmm.
shot. I'm like,
Oh, I know that feeling all too well because I just played in a skins tournament yesterday,
there
and I won two skins, and then I won a closest to the pin. Just putting that out there.
you go. There
But
you go.
I should, however, say not to sound too cocky. I was in the B group, so it's nothing but like average Joes or guys who barely golf. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm nothing great.
It's a
Exactly.
skits tournament. That's what
I
counts, dude. It's like
I
it's
shot I shot a 92. So like, but yeah, dude, I can only imagine like just to be able to execute a shot like that. Because I hit it to I won the closest to the pin, and I was still 25 feet away from the pin,
right. And it's like
and I three
he's
putted.
right, and then Scotty Scheffler's in like ankle deep rough, hitting a perfect chip 70 feet, and we're just like, Yeah, I would have duffed that or thinned that into the sand bunker 30 feet on the other side of the green, and then probably would have duffed my sand shot once and then sent it over the hole. And then we would have figured out to try to save a triple bogey. But, you know, it is what it
And then
is.
two and three putt. Exactly.
Right.
Never fails, bro.
Never
But
fails.
uh keeping it golf related, now Billy, let's talk about the live golf winners and Sebastian Munoz. He defeated John Rahm in a playoff to win the live golf Indianapolis tournament. Congratulations to him first and foremost. So give it up to Sebastian Munoz. However, though, Billy, we're gonna talk about John Rahm because even though he lost in the playoff, he ended up being crowned the overall points winner. He won the points title for Live. So essentially, he was the most consistent golfer all year, right? Um, from their point system.
Right.
And if we look at it even further into it, uh, in 13 Live events this year, John Rahm finished inside the top 12 in all 13 events.
That's
So,
nuts.
uh, however, he didn't win a single tournament though, Billy. So even though he didn't win, he was still consistently placing himself inside the top 12, you know, week in, week out. And he also had four runner-up finishes on the year. He had seven top five finishes, and he never finished no worse than 11, tied for 11. So
Okay, that is pretty nuts. That's got to be so infuriating to take second. What 4 times is what you said?
four time, yes.
Oh God, that's got to be so frustrating. I mean, but the fact that he's in the mix for all of 12 of their major events, as you call it, is is pretty nuts. I mean, the amount of consistency you have to finish within a top 10 in either PGA or a Live Golf event, the level of competition is so high.
For sure.
Um, that's interesting. Not a single win though is
Yeah,
kind
not
of
a single win.
crazy.
So that poses the question, Billy, is John Rahm the best golfer in Live because Joaquin Niemann, he himself won five times this year for Live. He won in, if I might be butchering the name here, but he won in Live Adelaide. I don't know where exactly. He also won in Singapore, Mexico City, uh, Virginia, and in the United Kingdom. So talk about someone who was getting the job done. Joaquin Niemann, the 26-year-old Chilean, um, five wins, Billy, but he didn't win the points title just because he had like a couple finishes like outside the top 20 in other events, and so
That's
who would you consider the best golfer there and live? Is it Neiman? Is it Rahm?
that's 5 wins in a season. That's basically winning half of the big events that they're
Hmm.
putting on.
Yeah.
I do you know how close the points were?
Oh man, I do not know. I'd have to let's see if
I
I can
can
pull it
Google it
up
real
real quick.
quick. Because it's hard for me to believe because like especially in the PGA you get like a substantial point for winning a tournament, especially if it's a major tournament.
Yeah, they're in the FedEx, like
Right.
the FedEx Cup points and
Yeah, the
stuff.
FedEx Cup points. Here, hold on, I can pull it up.
Scottie's just running away with that. Let's see, I'm trying to pull up the live
Okay, so
stuff right now.
Neiman lost by 3 cut points, and it wasn't close. But Bryson DeChambeau was in third with about 60 less points. So it was 223.68 points versus 226.16.
Gotcha.
And oh man, it's hard for me to say that Neiman didn't have a better year. I mean, 5 wins. Like he wasn't as consistent in finishing in the top 10. If he was having a bad day, he was having a bad day. You know what I mean? Showing that
Exactly.
John Rahm can be that consistent, but based off of just straight wins, I got to give it to Neiman. I think
Yeah, you would rather have take Neiman, right?
right, 100%.
That's
If
so like maybe like should they frame it that like maybe is it like in the NFL where they have the MVP, but then they also have like the offensive player of the year, right?
Right.
So maybe they have the points leader, right, which is Rahm, but like the
Over him
best
and then
golfer or the golfer of the year, right, is Niemann, maybe? Or maybe would you consider it that way?
Hmm. I think I would. I because it's hard to say like hey like obviously they have their point system and how it's structured is
Yeah,
probably there for a
exactly.
reason. That reason is probably above my pay grade. Um, but I still have a lot of comments saying that Neiman had a better year than John Rahm.
Yeah. I would tend to say that too. Their point system, I know I think yesterday or today there's been big talk about their point system because they relegated some, I think like 8 golfers or something like that. So they won't be on the Live Tour next year. They're like, yeah, you consistently placed, at this point in the tournament, or you only had this many points after, placing so high out of all 13 events. So gotta kick rocks.
Right.
So they're looking for new golfers now. So.
So, and who knows? Like, I have a feeling they might start getting some more of these PGA guys, depending on how things going on. But, um, it seems like the only unified golf league is the TGL. You know what I'm talking about? That little
Yeah.
simulator. It
Yeah,
seems
the
like
the si-
they
the
get along just
simulator
fine.
golf. Yeah.
Yeah, the Tiger Woods League. Seems like
Hmm.
everybody gets along there, and it's a good flowing time. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder how long they're going to. Each league is going to kind of butt heads before they kind of start committing each other to playing in the same tournaments and stuff like that, or even if there was a split in terms of shares where they kind of take over all of golf like PGA used to have. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, big questions with golf in regards to like, them ultimately working together because they're still having that issue, Billy, with the Ryder Cup, right? Like I think Bryson, they're not gonna let Bryson play in like a certain tournament that majority of the players want to use it like as a tune-up before the Ryder Cup. So that just goes to show right there. It's like, man, can we all just get along, right?
Why can't we all? You know, why can't we just get along? That might be the title of the episode.
We just want, man, too bad copyright. We could play that's music and then I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. I was like, I probably shouldn't. I don't want to get.
Yeah, that's what same here. That's why me too. I was like, why can't we just all get along? But anyway, folks, that's all we have for today. Billy, was there anything you'd like to say before we head on out of here?
Go ahead and follow us at our socials. Billy the Thrill at Instagram, and then Thrilly the Bill on X.
Yeah, we appreciate you, everyone listening and or watching. Uh, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Tag us on X, formerly known as Twitter. Uh, like Billy said, follow him at Thrilly the Bill and at Billy the Thrill, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell for alerts. You can follow me on X at MattMTZ108. We really appreciate it, man. Be safe. See you next time.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Feel like it.